St. Francis was, he was a very wealthy, like teenager back in the late 1100s. And kind of lived a self-absorbed kind of life. Basically the revelation that he received was that you're my sister, no matter who you are, but they're really our brothers and sisters, no matter how they come and in the state that they come as well, you know, and you want what's good for them or to help them in any way. So that's really the motivation behind a mission, you know, like this to the homeless. Some people come here under the influence of many different things, you know, so we just try to help them. Let's have peace in the house, you know, and it's the Lord's house. We're not here to cure homelessness, and we're not here to cure hunger or our drug addiction. It's like, who's the person who's in front of you right now, and how can I be present to them and them to me, and really help them in any way possible. So hey, Brother Pies, how you doing? Everyone say hi to Brother Pies.
How's it going?
Hey, you're on camera there. Okay.
I didn't realize that.
So we do is basic clothing and toiletries and stuff like that. So this is like our most important room. It's the capilla, the chapel in there. So this is where we'll spend a few hours a day praying. This is where the brothers, and there's a lot that goes on in there, right? The second most important room, where the brothers generally eat.
How many brothers are here normally?
We have 6, with 2 more coming pretty soon. This is the kitchen.
I'm cooking eggs right now with beans. It's like rice and beans. Chicken. Those are chicken fingers.
Our grandson, he's homeschooled, so he helps me when I need it. But we just serve the homeless, or the hungry, I should say.
My name's Brother Isaiah. I'm from California originally, San Francisco area. I'm a Franciscan friar, and we live in this house. This is San Juan Diego Friary. We live here. We live a life of prayer, fraternity, and work. On Wednesdays, we have this soup kitchen here called Father Robert's Kitchen. The idea of it is it's sort of a restaurant style, except for it's free and for whoever wants to come. Yeah, the main purpose of our presence here is to pray for our neighbors and everyone around here, and then to try to share a sense of like human dignity. As far as how we get supported, it's all donation, which is the goodness of people's hearts, and the food we eat as well is all donation, and the clothing we give, the emergency needs, all of that is all just people's goodwill. So it's kind of a constant miracle. And then the other days we'll serve like basic needs at the door if somebody needs a lunch or emergency needs like hygiene or clothing, things like that. Yeah, I think it wakes me up a lot to the just awareness of the struggles that people go through. And also I think the biggest lesson and the biggest gift of it is reminding me that struggles are like a normal part of everybody's life. It puts life in perspective for me, kind of keeps me in reality. Everybody's got a story and everybody's going through something, so it can help me be more compassionate. It's just a blessing, the whole thing. And then we're in the same thing, so it's all gifts for us as well. I mean, we receive our food as well, so it just reminds us that it's all a gift.
My name is Doug Chaplin, and I'm currently the Operations Manager for the Department of Family and Community Services. I'm the former Director for the Department of Family and Community Services. We have, child development centers, community centers. We have behavioral health initiatives, affordable housing initiatives, and initiatives around homelessness. So the issue of homelessness in Albuquerque is one where individuals are no longer housed, and there's a lot of different reasons we believe that. Oftentimes it has to do with pure economics, poverty, education, or personal circumstances that have led someone to no longer be housed and end up on the streets. We do a broader range of programs to address the issue of homelessness. We fund everything from the emergency winter shelters. We fund some year-round shelters for both men and women. The Housing First approach deals with people where they are. It provides housing first, and then it offers an array of services depending on the needs of the individual. Over the last 8 years, we've housed I think over 760 families. 90% of the families that we house remain housed after 1 year. That it reduced the overall cost to our community by 32%. These individuals are no longer going to emergency rooms for medical care. They're not ending up in our jails. We have wraparound case management services for them, whether that's substance abuse, job training, behavioral health issues, getting them on income support systems, that sort of thing. Those that are most vulnerable and that have been on the streets the longest move to the top sort of the list, and we try to house them first. Right now, the largest barrier is resources, right? I mean, we have a lot of good service providers that we work with. We have significant resources, but they're always pretty much at max capacity. Some of the things that we caution people about is just handing out money. I mean, I tell people, be very careful about that, because sometimes you're just enabling a certain behavior. I think compassion, I think one of the things that you will hear when you talk to individuals on the street is that they feel invisible, right? People go by them, they don't see them, they want to turn a blind eye. But recognizing that they're humans, they're just like you and I. They just don't happen to not live in a house at that particular time. I think the most effective way for an individual to come off the streets is to work with a service provider, accept the help that's out there. You're going to have to be a little bit patient, because it's not something that's going to happen right away, but be open to the possibilities and work with the service providers that are out there. What we strive for in Albuquerque is to make homelessness rare, short-lived, and non-reoccurring. I think there'll always be a few folks that are on the streets from time to time. As we continue to work on our resources and collaborate with our agencies, we can come up with what might be called a functional end to homelessness, so that we have fewer people entering homelessness than are actually leaving homelessness at any given time. And I think it's important that we distinguish the difference between people that are panhandling and those that are homeless on the streets. Just because someone is panhandling does not mean that they are not housed. Oftentimes they are housed. Over 70-80% of the people that are panhandling are also dealing with a substance abuse or some sort of problem of addiction. The idea behind the blue signs is to allow people, or give them another opportunity to help people that are experiencing homelessness and are down on their luck, by contributing to United Way, and then the money would go to a service provider that would help those individuals. The numbers of children and families experiencing homelessness is sort of hard to wrap your hands around, but it's clearly an issue in the city of Albuquerque. We need to figure out new ways to address that population. As far as I'm concerned, a day on the street not being housed is a day too long. I feel like I've been called to serve, and so that's the thing that gets me up every day, is being able to help our community be a better community and everybody in it have a chance to succeed. I was at what they call this pure Thanksgiving dinner, right? There was a video put on there, and one of the ladies that I interviewed, her name was Gurley, was there, and it was just amazing seeing the transformation. When I first met her, I thought, man, this individual seems so old and frail, and now that they're housed, they seem much younger. They were very excited. It's just so warming to know that just a little thing that I did. I spent a morning out interviewing, getting their information down for the vulnerability index, and then to see them housed. I think the things that they're dealing with are different than when I first started this even 10 years ago. I think the people we encountered then, you're mostly dealing with folks with, alcohol, marijuana issues, and the drugs are becoming much stronger. The answer is to house them, right? We know that works. It's getting enough resources, and then, when they're housed, it's not housing. First, it's not housing only, right? It's providing the right support services. The data shows not only is it the humane thing to do, but it's economically the right thing to do for a community. It's far less expensive for someone to be off the streets and on the streets. It costs us all a lot less.
Well, my name is Brother Gerard Sullivan. This is Good Shepherd Center, downtown Albuquerque. We have multiple services for poor people, homeless people. It started as an overnight shelter for men. That continues. It is also now a rehab program for men with addictions. We do a mail service. Many people that don't have a home still need an address. We do a meal for the public every day at 3:15, and that's open to everybody, families or single individuals. So I joined a religious order in 1969, and their work was general services to people who are poor. So that's why I'm here, I guess. The people in the recovery program, they have big time issues with addictions, so they'll come here to get treatment. The program is 6 months. It's residential. It's a little bit unique in that it's sort of a twofold thing. The men get professional counseling, they get case management, a lot of group work. We use a 12-step model for the recovery program. Others that get involved in the drug culture get addicted. Like I say, we offer treatment, but there's many others that they're either not ready for treatment or they've had it. It hasn't worked for them, or they haven't worked for it, however way you want to put it. Sometimes with people with mental health problems, there's a high incidence of dual addiction. Often it starts in youth when some people just sort of aren't comfortable in their own head, if that makes sense. And they get introduced to the drug culture and they realize, wow, I feel a little better. It's terrible because it's misguided and it's not good care. There are some people, for whatever reason, that they're just wired differently, and those values are not as high for them, but they do have needs, or they just don't have the skills to make a commitment to fulfill those needs. Sometimes it's you'll have someone that's receiving services and we never quite figure out what is the issue. And the assumption or the hope is always, well, maybe if this person gets a bed for a week, he'll get a job and, life will get better. We'll let him stay a little longer if he got a job and then he'll get a room or something. We get some grants from the state and from the city that help with utilities and with food. And then there's a couple of foundations that have been very good to us. Everyone can be helped, in my opinion, to some degree, but some of us can only absorb so much help. There's an old saying, we're our own worst enemy. And it's not that we're always responsible, it's just the way we are sometimes. These are all fellas in the last 10 to 12 years that were in the rehab program, completed or left before they completed, subsequently relapsed and died. This is the public dining room that I talked about. I sometimes like to say it's probably the most used dining room in the city.
Yeah.
Because it's not that huge, but you have the big crowd at 3:15, the in-house clients at 5, people that come in for the overnight bed have snacks at 8. All of those groups have breakfast in the morning. The big room on the ground floor, and that would be where all of the large group work for the people in rehab would take place, the AA meetings and classes and that type of thing. And on the upper level, after the men are in the program, they come in, they use a dorm bed, but as they move up, they get a shared 2-tour room in here.
How many rooms are in there?
There's about 12 bedrooms. There was an old house here, and it was abandoned, but it had become a crack house. So we had some money, we bought the house and tore it down. This is where they can go if they don't want to smoke and if they want to be a little more quiet than sitting in the big crowd. This is a library sitting room in here. So people will do things here like looking up job applications and things like that. Dry goods, nice big space. Canned goods and that type of thing.
So I'm Alan Armijo, I'm Director of Constituent Services at the Mayor's Office, and several programs come under me, one of them being the Better Way program. We estimate that there's probably 5,000 to 6,000 homeless people on the streets of Albuquerque. That fluctuates. We see a lot of mental illness, and there are not enough facilities for mental illness, and the families cannot take care of them, so they're on the streets. We see people who we call the working poor, who were working, maybe making minimum wage, but had a medical issue and had no insurance. And then we have a lot of runaways as well, young people that are homeless as well. And so I think you cannot point to just one group of why we have homeless people, but there's a variety. The city of Albuquerque funds a variety of programs to help homeless people and kids and counseling and all that. The city of Albuquerque actually spends around $14 million a year working on programs. It's not enough. We do grants with the homeless providers, St. Martin's Hospitality, for example, that runs a Better Way program. They do feeding, they have feeding areas, they don't have housing. Steel Bridge, which is another one, which does some housing and does feeding as well as clothing. I think there's a combination of things. One of the things that Mayor Keller is now targeting and working on, and we're working with Bernalillo County, is working on a facility, whether we build it or renovate it, an old hotel or motel, a living facility, especially for targeting people with mental health issues and giving them counseling, medication. When you can get homeless people into housing and help them sustain that housing, that probably eliminates a lot of homeless issues. The Better Way program, for example, is a program that pays a person to work for a day, 5 hours a day at $9 an hour, and get them some money for that day so they can get some food or rent a motel room or things like that. But the real target is to get them into programs. And the biggest program on part of that and real target is to get them into a housing situation. Mayor Berry wanted to start helping out the panhandling homeless. Initially, we put up the signs first before we started the Better Way program. For example, especially with the Native Americans who have moved to Albuquerque, they like living in the streets. Some people, that's their life. They don't wanna. They really don't care to get a job because that's for them. It's easier to panhandle. For them, that's their family. One that the city of Albuquerque doesn't really provide any money to because they're outside of the city limits of Albuquerque is Jeremy Reynolds, but it's not a long-term living facility.
Okay, yeah, Jeremy Reynolds, founder and CEO of George Junction. Big picture, we're the biggest agency for the homeless in the entire state, in the entire city. We give a place to stay and meals and help to people getting back on their feet again in order to get them back as fast as they can into mainstream community life where they can become productive community citizens. Came across to America with $50 in my pocket and a one-way ticket. I was homeless on the streets of New Mexico, Texas back in 81 through 82. That America is still the land of the free and the brave, but you have to work to get money. And I didn't do that for a whole variety of reasons. Well, before we came along, you would have had to stay over here with the younger kids or the girls. You would have had to stay over there with the older kids or the boys. Telling me you was to have an agency where the whole family could stay together as a family unit at one of the worst points in time in their entire lives. You know, the local government doesn't do anything as such, and I don't say that in a bad sense, other than the fact that they give money to fund agencies to do other things. I think the folks living in Albuquerque do a wonderful job of a caring, kind community, but all of us need to recognize that homeless, but for the grace of God, go you and I, one paycheck away from poverty. When you see somebody that is homeless, dirty, sort of shuffling along the streets, don't judge them, because you could look like, $1 million. You might feel like hell on the inside. People all around tend to judge far too much. It's important for us to recognize that every homeless person has a story, and to get to know that. If we say we're not going to help you, okay, well, who helps you? So we're trying whatever we can to do to provide the answers to help people get back on their feet. We recognize that not everybody is going to want to get back on their feet again in the way that you and me think they should. But the fact is they're not going to do that for whatever reason. We can either make up our mind we have a biblical, societal, community-based responsibility to help people, or we don't. And if we don't, then what are we going to do with those we don't help? We have a faith-based life recovery program called the Christ in Power program, which is basically like a Jesus-ized version of AA. But it's to say, Lord Jesus, I need you, help me. And plus dealing with practical answers. And we have a regular overnight program. We have people, so we have a variety of ways that people can stay with us. We do have a background check also, because obviously we're taking families. So we're going to run you through a New Mexico Criminal Court's background check and New Mexico Metro Court also, to make sure you don't have a history of domestic violence. Had a guy came by, we were at a business exhibit event. Yes, after I left you guys, I got a PhD. He had a master's at UNM, then went out of town to get a PhD, now as a professor. When he came to us, he was an alcoholic. He smokes like a chimney, but he was an alcoholic too. And so he got back on his feet, got off drinking, quit smoking, and became a regular employee of us for many, many years. And just passed on to be with the Lord a few weeks ago. So we can take up to 300 people each night. We feed as many as about 10,000 meals a month here at George Junction. We feed another 6,000 plus on our mobile feeding unit around town. And that will be around hotels, motels, parks, train parks, whatever, okay? About 47, 48 employees. When I say employees, people go, oh, you mean volunteers? No, these are full-time paid employees. We have a whole bunch more volunteers too. But I think primarily it will be mental health issues and alcoholism, domestic violence. Better, we had a mayor who thankfully has just gone out of office who for the past 8 years crowed to the nation about what he had done to help the homeless. Nothing. Other than have a great PR campaign. I'm sure you've heard about the Homeless to Work program. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it helps out 9, 10 people. AP, Reuters, Washington Post got a hold of that story, circulated around the nation, and then people began to think, oh, Albuquerque has it really together. No, we don't. We're probably worse off than most people. But as he cycled the story again and again, it was just like, oh, Albuquerque has it together. No, it's a mess. Mm-hmm. Whereas in actuality, we need as much as, if not more help than any other town in the nation. While we appreciate any good efforts that Mayor Berry did, for us to like make the rest of the U.S. think that we really have it together in Albuquerque is not good. It's not good at all. And you see, I mean, there's pee and crap and all that sort of stuff outside. You know, the business owners don't like it. Well, obviously, I wouldn't if you're owning owning something you don't want that. But the point is, okay, you don't like it, but what are you going to do about it? How are we going to tackle this as a community? Mm-hmm. We've seen all these groups that say New Mexico Coalition to End Homelessness. We're going to end homelessness by 2009, end homelessness by 2012. Everybody wants to end homelessness, but they want you to end it and not them. By seeing Kelsh, I spent probably 45 minutes with the mayor at the dinner we had last year, just after he was sworn into office. Don't know him much, but very, very impressed. He was also a volunteer when he was in high school for us. He started volunteering at George Junction. I've been very impressed with him so far. Very nice, very kind. I mean, he inherited a mess. I think Maria was a personality stunt. But his major effort, which is what he won the election on, is crime.